For this presentation, I'm looking at the terms and conditions, the privacy policy, and the tracking and targeting policy associated with Fairfax Media Limited. As well as owning newspapers such as the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age, and the Australian Financial Review, Fairfax also owns a large amount of digital content falling under the portfolio of Fairfax Digital. This obviously includes smh.com.au and theage.com.au, but there's also the dating site RSVP, My Career if you're looking for a job, Drive and Domain if you're looking for a car or a house, and many, many others. Now, it doesn't matter which of these websites you're on, they're all subject to the same privacy policy and conditions of use. The links for these are usually found at the very bottom of each site, and they all link to the same Fairfax corporate site. These terms for using Fairfax Media websites have implications regarding privacy, censorship, and copyright, and we'll take a look at all of these. Firstly, privacy. The first interesting point is that Fairfax insists you use your real name. You cannot use a pseudonym, and Fairfax may even request identification to prove this. Now, some might say that this is a great thing. Everyone can be held responsible for the comments they make. But what happens if you're commenting in support of anti-Beijing protests in Hong Kong, and later on your employer receives a big contract from a Chinese-based company? With Google searches and so forth, there is the potential for things to end badly for both you and your employer. Next, we find that Fairfax is collecting and storing information about your activities online. This includes pages you've visited and links you've clicked on, keywords you've searched for, your physical location, even private messages you've sent. But it doesn't stop there. They also collect information from third parties and share their information with third parties. This is for the purpose of targeting advertising directly to you. If you're looking at a lot of online information about Tahiti, for example, then they may assume you're planning a holiday, so they'll target you with relevant advertisements. Now, on one hand, this could be a good thing. It simply provides a more tailored web experience and helps websites, which are mostly free, provide a service to you by selling advertising. But then Fairfax also points out that it passes on this information to service providers in different countries. And whilst this is not altogether surprising, given that on the web there are no geographical boundaries, it does mean that if this information is misused, there is very little recourse for Fairfax users. But on the positive side, Fairfax is a member of the Australian Best Practice Guideline for Online Behavioural Advertising, which, among other things, forces Fairfax to give users the option of opting out of receiving third-party online-based advertising. All you have to do to stop Fairfax passing this information on is to find the link, which is located within their targeting and tracking policy, and you're given the ability to opt out. Now let's take a look at censorship. Firstly, we see a list of things you are not allowed to do on Fairfax's websites. These include things such as the abuse, harassment, and threatening of others, or undertaking activities which are defamatory, unlawful, or that religiously or racially vilify. And these are of course good things, as there are some places on the web where this is not moderated and it can lead to exclusionary behaviour. Likewise, we also find that you are not allowed to infringe on intellectual property, which of course is just following the law. But what is interesting is that it does not state how this is moderated. If someone posts a comment about me and I contact Fairfax saying it's defamatory, is that enough for them to take it down? Or would they wait for me to win a court case? Would this change if it was the CEO of one of Fairfax's advertisers? This is important because, as stated by Ian Brown from Oxford University, the transparency of how these decisions are made affects the quality of free speech and expression. Less transparency equals less freedom of expression. Now finally, let's take a look at copyright. By contributing anything to a Fairfax website, you grant Fairfax a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, perpetual license to use, reproduce, edit the material in any form and for any purpose. What's more, this license extends to every user of the Fairfax network. So not only can Fairfax use your material for whatever they want, but others can as well. To top all this off, by contributing material, you unconditionally waive all moral rights, meaning that you don't have to be credited for your contribution. This means that the picture of a car you're trying to sell or your avatar photograph can be used by Fairfax or any Fairfax user, and they don't even have to say it came from you. So whilst Fairfax, as mentioned earlier, is intent on protecting intellectual property for some, they're also intent on taking it away from their users. So whilst Fairfax Media may not be as controversial with regard to privacy, censorship, or copyright as companies like Facebook or Google, It is important to note that even a seemingly innocuous website, which is just supplying the news or a platform for selling a car, can still have conditions of use which have real-life and controversial consequences.